Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program, and also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. In both cases, make sure you hit the notification button so that you can get alerts as soon as we go live. Also, visit FPCgear.com. That's FPCgear.com. It is the place to go to find all sorts of cool Pro 2A t-shirts. The best part is every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's FPCgear.com. All right. Now, we all know that, they're always looking for ways in which to kind of underhandedly affect the right to keep and bear arms. All different sorts of policies, whether it's advertising policy or whether it's zoning policy or all these various different ways in which, or education policy, all these different ways they want to affect your right to keep and bear arms. Well, one of the things that they've actually come up with is utilizing the Violence Against Women's Act to actually restrict your right to keep and bear arms. Because obviously they believe that people who own firearms are by nature violent people. So they right this year, they're actually debating the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women's Act. And what they've done in that process is included some stuff that, quite frankly, is very, very dangerous when it comes to our right to keep and bear arms. So to kind of discuss what's going on with that policy, we've invited, once again, the Director of Legal Policy for the Firearms Policy Coalition, Mr. Matthew Larosiere, to come on the program and let y'all know what's up. How you doing, Matt?
What's going on, Craig? Well, that's how you know you've seen too much of me, as you can pronounce my last name.
that is a pretty telltale sign. So tell me, what is going on with the Violence Against Women's Act?
Okay, so the Violence Against Women's Act came in a long time ago, and it was designed to help out battered women, give funding to shelters, victims protection programs. A lot of different things that were, that were really helpful to a lot of women at the time. And the law has always had a sunset period. The law, so, every few years it gets reauthorized, and generally nothing happens. They make little tweaks, little adjustments, but nothing major. At one point it was stalled because they wanted to change it to, also give protections for same-sex victims and non-citizen victims, stuff like that. But never some major thing that's beyond the scope of the law's protection. That is until now. So with the new Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act, which we've written a bulletin on, a little paper to give you a rundown of what's going on. They basically, this is the first time they were amending the law to specifically refer to firearms. It was never a gun control law. It was always other things, right? And we're not going to talk about the benefits of any individual part of it, but just know that the law was not a gun control law until now. So what they're doing is they're adding to the federal law under this act, under the class. So you might be aware that there, if existing law says that, spousal abusers and people who are subject to a restraining order, for violence against a intimate partner, cannot possess a firearm. This adds a lot of things to that. One, it expands the class of who can not own a firearm to people who have been convicted or accused of the misdemeanor offense of stalking. All right, and so stalking, you might think is oh, yeah, I don't want stalkers to have guns, but then you have to look at the way the federal law defines stalking. And it's any crime, and it's super vague. Any crime that, could, it's even as small as harass, any kind of, that could harass somebody. And so getting convicted of that would mean no more firearms rights permanently, for your whole life. That is a huge expanse.
Well, I personally, this is me personally, I don't think that if it's a misdemeanor, that means it's not a serious crime. And I don't think that I don't think that there should be prohibiting misdemeanors. I think if it's that serious to where you should lose a fundamental right, I think it ought to be a felony.
Right. And not only that, it
serious.
should actually go to court. It should actually be a thing where the court has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that you've done this conduct.
Right. Because a lot of times what happens is people because they don't have the ability to fight it, they don't have the resources to fight it. A lot of times they'll accept the misdemeanor because a lot of times they'll be offered, okay, well, we'll give you time served or we'll let you out on probation. You won't do any jail time. And for them, it's just easier. But what happens is they don't realize that they're giving up a fundamental right by doing that.
Exactly. And just like you're saying, it's all about money. So who's this going to affect the most? People who don't have the means, right? And then also, who is most likely to be the victim of violent crime? Those same people in the lower income levels. So yeah, you can't afford a lawyer. You get a public defender. All right, cool. That's fine. And then the public defender and the prosecutors, they have this thing that they do, where it's all right. We'll downgrade your crime to a misdemeanor, and just plead guilty to it, and we'll be good. You pay this, blah blah blah. You do that, time served, and you're out. And so if you're the guy who doesn't have money, he needs to get back to work, what are you going to do? You're just going to take it.
Well,
but you're never thinking, because your defender is telling you it's just a misdemeanor, it's not a big deal. That's a huge problem. You're supposed to be able to rely on that distinction in the law. You're supposed to be able to just look at something that's a misdemeanor and say, okay, slap on the wrist, what I did was wrong, blah, 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 and moving on with my life.
And in a lot of states, there's no real requirement that you are made aware of what rights and privileges you're giving up by being convicted of a particular crime. I know in California there isn't. Right. So when you lose in this case, you lose your rights, and you don't know that you've lost your rights. No one is obligated to tell you.
Yeah, and remember that this is a stacked on top federal law on top of state law. So the way the federal law defines stalking is huge. So what if a state made it a crime to make too many phone calls against somebody, and then the feds go, oh well, that sounds like conduct that is reasonably created to harass another person.
Right.
So if you're the guy who got brought up on charges, and they're like, all right, so you know what, we're just going to get you for the phone calls. We're going to get you for the harassing phone calls, misdemeanor, plea out to it. And your defense attorney goes, well, it's a pretty good deal. Are you going to sit there? And are you really expecting that for the rest of your life, you're going to be treated as a lesser class of human being?
Right. And mind you, now here's the interesting thing. And I haven't seen the number for misdemeanors, but I know that for felonies, 94% of felony convictions are plea bargains, which means that in many cases, they're probably you can imagine that probably an even greater percentage of misdemeanors once again will never make it to court, are now going to be a lot of those convictions are going to be plea bargains. And that means you never get your day in court. They are never required to actually prove that you did what you did.
Do you know how many assistant state attorneys have never been to court?
I have no idea.
I mean, me either, but I know quite a few. Because it's turned into a different thing now. The state almost never has to prove what you did. They trick you into accepting some lesser consequence. So that's what they do. They overcharge you to begin with to get you to accept a lower thing. It's a big game. And they knew that if they were actually interested in pursuing this and taking you to court, they would have never charged you with the serious crime to begin with. They would have started off where they're giving you the deal. And this is just one part of it. Right? So what they're sneaking into VARA is not only that, but they're just expanding definitions. It's just little tweaks, right? Little adjustments. And so what we're saying is, look, if you're going to do gun control, one, don't do it. But when you do it, be honest about it. All right. It's not right to try to trick people. It's not right to try. If what you're doing is so right that the only way for you to get it through is to sneak it into the Violence Against Women Act, what does that tell you about what you're doing? Right?
Exactly. I hear exactly what you're saying. Anyway. I know you guys did a white paper on this, right?
No, we put out a bulletin.
A policy bulletin.
Short read, a couple pages. And I've written an article about it. That I wrote an op-ed. I think it was called "Violence Against Women Act Abuses Women to Violate Your Rights." Mm-hmm. So that's it's not very hard to understand where the concerns are here, right? You just have to go through the trap that they place for you in order to understand the concerns. You have to get past the name of the law,
exactly.
Right? You have to look at the actual text, which is where just if for your own peace of mind, if you're out there and you're getting interested in researching the law and looking stuff up, don't even read the title. It doesn't mean anything. Just read the actual commanding statement.
I'm telling you, there's a gentleman who now is the secretary. Well, I'll get back. I'll get to he's now the superintendent of public instruction in the state of California. This is a guy who on a gun bill said, we can get all into the details of the language of the legislation, but we really need to look at the author's intent. And I'm like, what? I mean, I'm not going to be, if I'm going to go to jail, if someone is going to go to jail, it's not going to be on the author's intent. It's going to be on the language of the bill, what the bill says, what the law, because the bill will eventually become a law, what it actually says.
Yeah.
These folks don't care. They don't care about
I could have saved a few years if I just got my law degree from whatever Cracker Jack box he found too.
Hey, where can folks find the policy bulletin?
Go to firearmspolicy.org, click on policy. We've got all our great stuff there. Click on take action if you care about this stuff. We make it really easy for you guys to get in touch with your lawmakers. But everything's there on firearmspolicy.org for you to check it out. It's all written in plain English, no legalese. So just give it a go. I think you'll find it interesting.
Folks, at the very least, number one, you need to take action because you need to make sure that these folks know what's up and they know where you stand on this stuff. But number two, educate yourself so that you can have these conversations with people. It's important that we win hearts and souls, and we do it one person at a time by knowing the subject. The thing is, and many of you guys already know this, most of the people out there talking about gun policy, debating gun policy, have no idea what they're talking about. Don't be one of them. Just saying. Matt, thanks for coming on the program. Look forward to having you back soon.
Good to see you.
All right, sir. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, letting your friends know about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.